for now, when we have VS Code over here, we have the terminal. Basically, it's a little command line, and only these commands, the print, make them show anything inside here. This part of the command is just basically compilation of the code and execution. And these are the results of running this hello.
Sorry,
Pi.
I have a question which I made before. Maybe it was not clear.
Go ahead.
Why to me it doesn't show anything to the terminal? Even if I did open new terminal, but then when I type anything like you type it, to me it doesn't show any.
Did you press this play button on the upper right corner? This run Python
Okay,
file.
then I missed that. Sorry. Yeah, now it's now it's working.
Yes,
Thank you.
sorry, because I might do it too
Okay.
fast. I might do
No,
it
no,
too
it's
fast.
fine.
So
It's fine.
sorry.
I probably miss it in between. It's okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, yeah,
Mm.
because that's why we installed this Python add-on. So it gives us this plus, so we can compile it fast. It's also good for debugging, but you mark different lines, and then you can check different values. But for now, we don't need that. We don't have advanced code, so we don't have to worry for it. I mean, worry about it for now. So do you have? I mean, I made it a bit confusing with this terminal. Do you guys have any questions about the terminal? Anyway, for now, just take it easy. Terminal is probably alien thing for most of you. There's some commands, but as far as we're gonna use it, it's not that much, so no worries. Maybe if you guys would be interested in GitHub, then there is a bit more commands to learn, but for now, we are good with learning basics. So moving on. Let's go to different type of variables we have in Python. Like this X, it's obviously a number that we call an integer number. So there's another way in Python to check what is the variable, what kind of type is it? Because in many programming languages, like in JavaScript, if we want to define something, well, we need to say what it's going to be. In C++, we're gonna type int I is equal 0. And this is good for C++ because we need to define everything. But Python is a bit smarter, and we just type the variable name we want. We put something inside, and Python already figures out what kind of type is it. So if I comment out these two, we don't need them for now. What we get is this result, class int, so meaning integer. Obviously, when typing such comments, when in middle of our code pops class int, but we don't know what were we asking about. So it's quite nice to type some text. The text, when you want to print it, almost always, well, always needs to be in quotations, double quotation or a single one. So we can type what type is X. And we need to end with the same quotation we started. Because if I do the double quotation at the end, we can see there's an error with this one. And if we try to compile, it's gonna say that it got some problem. It's also important to know what kind of mistakes we're going to see. So it says just on the line 6, there is a unterminate string literal. So this text is a string, but it waits for this single quotation. Otherwise, the string never ends. So that's the second type of variable we have. The first one being integer, and the second one being a string. So we just type, and inside the round brackets, we check what type is the thing given inside the brackets, because we can give a variable we defined already, or we can just type whatever we want. I typed 1, 2, 3, but this is a bit tricky because 1, 2, 3, we think it's a number, but because we defined it with then I have some issues with my shortcuts on the keyboard. Because we put it inside the quotations, then means whatever is inside quotations, it's a string, and it doesn't care that it's a number inside. So if we don't have the quotations, it's going to tell us it's a number that's inside. So we can go up and define text, some words. I'll copy this, paste it, and do the same with the quotations. So we don't lose anything of what was done. So it's maybe continuous. Also, what's important in the code, especially, well, for everybody, especially when you're writing big code, sometimes you have functions, sometimes you have different places where you might be defining something, and you are going, or someone else is going to read your code. So that's one of the most important parts, writing comments inside the line. Just like here, I wrote the result. And over here, we have this comment, and we can type what it does, because there's so many different type of comments, we might not remember all of them. Someone asked how to call the command line before. Oh, well, there is this, if you go up, terminal, new terminal. Well, it opens another terminal, and it seems there is a menu for having several of them. But I guess we stick just with one. As for this visual code installation before Python, I don't think it matters, but in the end, you need to have everything installed so it works. If you try to install this library of Python without installing Python, then it won't work, it won't compile. That's why we had to install from python.org the Python. Anyway, back to the comments. Here we were checking the type of 1, 2, 3, and over here we're checking the type of 1, 2, 3 inside quotations. We got string, and here we got an integer number.
Although,
yes,
we need always type to using some variable, because in C++ we just write variable.
Yeah, like here. You see line 5. I typed text, right?
Always using type before variable.
No, the type is just for checking the type.
Okay.
It's only for checking type, because if I tell it to print text,
okay,
it's just going to print whatever is inside, so some words. But if I print now, what is the type of variable? Text.
When I want to print a value of variable,
Yeah,
I need to use type.
No, not, it's type is only for checking
Okay.
what kind of variable it is. So
Okay.
as you see over here, I wrote the full description so we
Mhm.
don't get confused, because quite often when testing some bigger code, if we just put something like this,
Okay.
well, something like that pops and we don't know why did we check it. But if we write this comment, what
Mhm.
is the type of variable text? And it shows us what variable it is. It is a string. str stands short for string, meaning a word. Basically, there's obviously some limitations to the length of a string, but I think you can put many pages of text inside a simple string, and so it doesn't have to be 2 words. It can be 100, it can be 1,000 and million probably. But there's some limitations, obviously. But one can obviously also go and fix that by importing some library for making some advanced other types. So you can actually put, well, actually putting several blocks in a string is pointless. You just import a file that got it. That's the easy way of doing it, and better. So this is, we've got integers, we got here strings, and next type that we're gonna get is some array, a list, where we can have some numbers. We can have, we don't need to have numbers, there can be words inside. Oranges, bananas. And we can put numbers inside as well. It's not an issue. When talking about lists, it's quite nice to see this one table. I remember it being here, meaning all the, well, the problem with lists, it's I mean, it's not much of a problem the way they solved it. Like, you have a full list, you want to print a list, and you get a list. But if you want to print only the second character, that's when the problem starts, because you need to type the index, and the index, it never could be as simple as 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So the index starts with a 0. So the first item on the list got an index 0. So if I want to print a 3, the index is 1. And over here, there was this explanation of that. Over here, there is a list. Asabenek put even something more interesting, because he put a string, an integer, a boolean, and an object. So this is a list containing different data types. So this picture under shows the index of a given list. So quite often we will want to print out different types, different items on the list. And usually we're gonna have some loop going over something. And the problem is index, that you need to remember it starts with 0. There can be also negative indexes. If you put -1, we probably get the last item on the list. So that's a 4. And so on. It can get confusing, but to be honest, I don't think I ever used the negative indexes. But you can. So that's one more thing you can do. Okay, let's go back here with this one. Oh yeah, let's change it to the view of the Explorer. So now let's recall these other types. I mean, not recall, learn the other types. There is Boolean. Boolean is true and false. It's like 0 or 1. So let's, how can I call it? Variable. Let's call it yes. Yes is equal true, and no is equal false. Okay, that's a bit stupid naming, but it works, right? So if I print a yes, that is true. But if we want to check what type it is, I can just copy the code from before and just replace it with the variable we made. When you're just checking the type of variable, as you can see, you don't need any quotations because those are only for the strings if you want to view a string. So if you type that, it will tell you class Boolean. Result is this. And it's quite useful. You might think that what's the point of using Boolean if you have so many numbers you can pick from, but it makes it a bit easier because it's just a simple yes or no, and one can find it quite useful. For example, if someone made some application for posts, I mean, for writing some comments, and for example, you want to delete all the comments you picked. So when you click on one and second and third, it's going to be as simple as you can type a variable, for example, is selected. And if each comment on the list has got this type of data, I mean, how to say it? If each item is marked with yes or no, then you can perform different type of operations on it. So don't look down on Booleans. They are quite useful in programming for, well, different reasons. Yeah, I was thinking first too that what's the point of Boolean if I can just use whatever else, but it's also about the usage and usage of the processor, of the memory, of many things. This value is just taking very little space comparing to any number, because numbers, when they are stored, they take several bits of information, 4 or 8. Meaning bits is let's call it the space. The space it takes on the hard drive in the memory, whereas a Boolean, well, usually takes the least amount of space because it's a simple 0 or 1. And besides Booleans, we also have objects. So the thing is, we put whatever is inside of the object in a curly bracket. So we can do, let's type a name and type a name. And the next item, we can just go ahead and type in city. Let it be city, but we need to put it inside quotations. And let's say Helsinki. And thus we have our object. It's nothing fancy. But if we want to check the type of this one, it will tell us it is an object. Okay, it's not an object, it's a dictionary. Well, it's no difference for me. A dictionary, because it got this semicolon. I guess I got something confused. Anyway. Because in Python, the things are called dictionaries. Different programming languages got different namings. For most parts, it's got kind of same name. But for Python, I think that's the only programming language that got something that's called a dictionary. So it doesn't matter.